Hello, it's Amy with Just a Little Ink. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I'd love to share with you today a card. It's based off of one I received at BackStage from a good friend of mine, Leanne Livingstone. She has a blog and Facebook group, Deadrock Stampers, great lady out of Canada, love her, but I wanted to make something with this layout, and what I came up with was using some of the paper that's just recently retired from our September to December mini catalog. So let's get started. So I had my 2 sheets, I hadn't touched them yet, of the Night Divine paper. I think that's the name of it, and if not, I will correct it in the description of this video. But you know, it's a lot of paper, and I didn't want to do home decor. I've seen so many beautiful things done that way, but this card layout was perfect because I could get 6 cards out of using one piece of the paper. So I'm going to set this part aside and kind of share how I did some of that. And I've done some of them, like you've seen this one here. I took it, and so I've cut them out with my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine using the Nested Essentials die, and it's the largest of this particular die set. I marked the center marks for me just so I would know kind of how I wanted to do this. And the paper I opted using was basic white, and the die set I used was using the coordinating hybrid die from the Night Divine. And so let's see if I wrote that down or not. The Stars at Night hybrid embossing folder, which brings such beautiful paper. So kind of just share it quick here. So I did a number of them here. And then I cut it out, and so what I found worked best for me, I don't know if this is how Leanne did hers or not, didn't ask her. I'm going to grab my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine here. What I did and found worked pretty well for me was to come in, I took it from the middle, that gave me one in the center, and then I have all these pieces that are around. So I cut that out, and then, because I have all my pieces here, I'm going to kind of just share with you how I did that. So you can cut this piece in half, and then it's not an even half. It's down about 2 5/8 inch. So what I've done is then I've taken all those pieces and I've cut them so that I have backer stuff and little pieces here. So what I'm going to share with you isn't so much on the cutting it, although you can. That works out really pretty well. What I'm going to share is, get this out of the way. What I want to share is more how I assembled everything. So I've cut a piece of basic white thick cardstock in half, scored it in the middle at 4 1/4, and then I'm going to get out my multi-purpose liquid glue and take all these pieces. Again, I've said that they're kind of got them here. So this piece is, I believe it's 2 5/8, and I will write down measurements so you kind of know what all of these are. But you use that whole 1/4 sheet of cardstock that has been embossed, and then you start layering. I loved how this ended up looking. So put here, gonna come in, take this piece, am I right here? Nope, this piece goes over here. So these pieces are the same, and these pieces are the same as far as the lengths are concerned. is I'm come up here. Is that how I'm doing this? No, those would be equal. I'm going to get confused on my own self. Is that how I did that? They almost have to be. So, over here. What happens when you plan your projects out days in a row sooner than, let's see, this one's gonna come over here, so get my parts figured out. I love the simplicity of this card, and the Night Divine is such a beautiful set. I'll bring it down a little ways. I think I'm going to have to cut this one off a little, but that's all right. Okay, and then this one, I want this one, yes. So the whole, I think you wouldn't have to have it so exact anyway, because you can use your scissors. Get that out of the way. Just for a moment. You want an even kind of gap around, so you have a little bit of a gap in between your papers. It's a nice flat look. And I'm going to get my paper snips out, and I'm going to snip across the lower edge on both of those. I'll throw my scraps away later if I can get them off my table. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to put, I've got a little tiny piece for the top and the bottom because you don't want to forget those. Okay. Even though you'll end up covering up quite a little bit, but it ends up kind of giving you a, almost like a quilt look. I'm going to push this down. This one wasn't quite centered. But with scissors, we will make it centered, and no one else will be the wiser. Only you, because you're watching. Grab so here. It's about time to almost be done with Christmas cards, and I'm going to share in the next week, well, probably the next couple weeks, other projects using Christmas sets that you can do last-minute gifts, last-minute gift packaging. I've got some neat ideas using that. And so it's not too late to keep using all those Christmas stamps. Okay, so again, I will pull out my paper snips. I'm going to even up. It's not quite as straight as I want it to be there. I'm going to even up the lower section of my card there. Make sure everything is cleaned up. Okay, so then I have this opening here, and that's where I would stick my Night Divine paper, and it's going to get popped up with dimensionals, right? But you see how perfectly it sits in the middle, which I just love. So I think it's just perfect. But what I was doing, so this one I used exactly, not this one, this one I did exact. But you'll notice how this one doesn't have the ground like the lower sections of the paper. This is from the upper portion of that designer series paper. So what I did is I cut down into the lower section, and then I'm going to use my paper snips to create a ground area. It's what I've done on these two. And it doesn't have to be straight, it can be. You can kind of curve it. So I'll set that aside. That way I'm not wasting all of this beautiful paper. These are going to go to some special people because it's special paper. All right, see if I can get my fingers to not stick to the paper. All right, so like this, we're going to take here and line it up at the base of this die cut. Line like so. Then what I've done, this is a portion of the whole die set. So let me pull that out just so you can kind of see what it is I'm looking at. So I stick mine on some magnetic sheets, but you'll see how it's the whole section, and you also had the shepherd, and I have him somewhere. He may be on a different card. But what I did is I snipped them apart so that I can use all of those pieces. So I thought this one would work really well. Grab out my take your pick tool. I have already put some of our adhesive sheet on the back before I cut it out. And so you just attach that. They're 6 by 12 inches, the adhesive sheets, and they're in 2-inch strips. Let's see if I can get it to pull up here. There we go. Get that off. We'll throw it away again later. So then I can stick Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus. I'm going to come just a teeny bit lower. I like how I can have them right underneath the star. And so this one lent itself to using the Holy Family here. Okay. And then I'm going to stick, we'll use this one. All these other two I've used then the camel, which I think is pretty cool. So we're going to set these aside, and I'm going to grab my Stampin' Dimensionals. Let's see what we got in here. One. You want it to stay up, and so you're going to use a few of them. So I think what, about 6? I think this would be a great use of all of these scenery designer series papers that we have, which we so often want to hoard. And so I'm excited to use them up. You might just see on my blog and my Facebook page some other samples using some of our other papers. We have some in our online exclusives that are also really beautiful papers. And so often we just, again, don't want to use them because then we're going to not have it anymore. But this is great. Now then I'm going to use these, sold out right away, the adhesive back star trinkets. But if you happen to have them, this is a great use for them. I'm going to grab my take your pick tool again, and I'm going to stick one of them right in the center of that star. Again, because I want to use things I've had sitting around. Here's a piece that I was showing that you could then cut that family onto, and then you end up with 3 different elements to stick on the fronts if you use these, and then a 4th one if you use the camel I had cut out. You can cut out a cow, a donkey, with a lamb. There's some different options that are available to you there. And then you want to be able to have a greeting, and so I've cut the banner image from the Nested Essentials dies, one of these here, the second to the smallest. And on that, I opted to stamp Merry Christmas, and I couldn't find one that I liked except in our Cottage Wreaths stamp set. This is out of our annual catalog. It carried over from last year's mini. So I used the Merry Christmas. It was small enough to do so. What I had done on the card I showed you to begin with was I used the Joy and Peace, which works extremely well. Let me see if I can find where I threw my scrap piece of cardstock. Here it is. So I'll show you how I did that. We're going to use this Merry Christmas. have something similar to what Leanne had done. So if I take Joy and Peace, I can get a 1/2 inch piece of basic white. And the basic white, let me grab a block out of here. If you're cutting down a front or an inside piece, you're left with often 1/2 inch pieces. Stamp blocks away. So I'm going to grab out that, and I'm going to grab some Night of Navy ink. Let's see how well I can stamp straight. So what I'm going to do, come here. We'll see how well I stamp. But what I had done, yeah, like so. I came like that. We'll clean this after a little bit. Then I cut off the end, and I'll need a little bit of an edge. And I could have gone on either side, but I'm going to come out a ways, cut that off, and I'll have some for another time. And then our take your pick, or not take your pick, our banner punch that's got the 3 different options. It's got grooves in it to allow you to do 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, or 1 inch banners. So I'm going to come up here. I like to turn mine upside down. And I'm going to go like so. And I need to go just a little shorter than that. Like that. That's how I would have done for the one I showed here. So you have some options, depending on if you're using the bundle or whether you're going to use all of the nested shapes. Then I need to lift it up here because I pulled the center up with dimensionals. So I need to put a couple dimensionals on the end and get out some Stampin' Seal. Pull off those ends and kind of pop it up on the other side. I think the balance is a little better on this particular card by doing so. And so that's why I want to go on the other side. But either way, I think it would look beautiful. Like so. And so you can get a whole different look. See if I could put my shepherd and then my little lamb here. Get all kinds of different ideas. So tons of ideas. I hope that you've enjoyed that. If you haven't already liked, shared, or commented, I'd love to hear what you think about this card idea, what you think about using this particular Designer Series papers. And if you're not a subscriber, I'd so appreciate it if you would. And for those that have already subscribed, thank you so very much. I look forward to seeing you again. Have a wonderful day.